Hello and welcome to A Second Look. My name is Emmett McConnell. In this series, I look back at a game and break down the big plays and goals from that match. In this episode, I'm going to look back at the Philadelphia Union's come-from-behind 3-2 victory over the New York Red Bulls. Now, part of what's made Philadelphia so successful this season is sporting director Ernst Tanner's ideology that he took from the Red Bull system in Germany of high pressure and high intensity. Meanwhile, in New York, the Red Bulls have lost that identity a bit, and it's part of what's made them not as successful this season. Once again, the Union were a dominant side in this game with 59% possession, 17 shots, and 18 crosses. However, it wasn't until Ilsinho, the super sub, came off the bench that the Union were able to get these chances into the net. The Brazilian winger had 2 goals and an assist and carried the Union to this victory in the second half. Let's take a second look.
The first chance of the game was probably also one of the best. We'll see the beginnings of how disjointed this Red Bulls back line is without Kemar Lawrence, Michael Murillo, and Aaron Long. But also, we'll see a few lapses in the midfield as well. This also won't be the first time you'll see a midfielder getting past the opposite midfield and a chance coming because of it. While there are a few moments that cause this play, such as the midfielders losing the run and Tarek and Lade miscommunicating, the biggest and most egregious error here is a defensive line from the Red Bulls. At no point is any player on the same page as another, and it makes it too easy for the Union to get behind the defense. We'll start out with the Union on the ball in their own half. It's tough to see it from this image, but Haris Medunjanin has dropped into the defense, and the team looks to be set up in a 3-4-1-2 of sorts. The Red Bulls are pressing high, and everyone is accounted for at this point. The Union, however, can play out with just one forward pass. Chatkovsky should press Bedoya here, though, so the Union midfielder cannot pick out that forward pass. Even with this ball, the Red Bulls should be in decent shape. But we'll see that they're starting to lose control. The first evidence of that is Sean Davis losing Brenden Aaronson. Davis was preventing a pass into the attacking midfielder, but with this forward pass, that angle opens up again. Here, both Tarek and Lade step up to Shabilko, and that opens space behind both of them for Aaronson to continue his run. Tarek backs off a bit when he realizes that Lade is also stepping up, but he's already out of position. Both Chatkovsky and Royer are goal side of Bedoya, but they get caught ball watching when the Union midfielder gets behind them. Bedoya breaks free, and now all the openings that were created before are exposed once this midfielder gets onto the layoff. Aaronson is now goal side of Tarek, and Parker is stepping over to cover the gap, leaving Duncan to cover Santos, who's wrong-sided in this situation. The Red Bull fullback makes the serious error of dropping too deep to try and manage this run. This is where the offside line is, up with Parker. Duncan's essentially holding both Aaronson and Santos onside. The Union would still be in a good position to move forward had he moved up, but this error means that the Union need just one pass to get a clear goal-scoring opportunity. The pass is probably harder than the finish, but Robles does well to come off his line and close down the angle. Santos tries to go high because of it, and he just misses clipping the top of the crossbar. It was a really strong bout of Union play up until this point, and Santos really should have put this chance away, especially because the Red Bulls strike back not too long after. And here is that play. You won't see all of this, but this started with a good counterattack from the Red Bulls. At the time, and to a certain extent now, I think Chatkovsky slows the play down and kills the momentum for the counterattack, but Kaku makes up for it along with Kyle Duncan. Once again, we'll see a midfielder making a run beyond the opposing midfield, and the hard run from Kaku is everything in the play here. So now the counterattack has come to a crawl, and we essentially see a 6-on-6 where every man is accounted for. Wagner is staying centrally, which is fine, but with the pass is forced out to get to the only open man, Duncan. As the ball approaches the Red Bull fullback, watch Kaku make a really hard run here. Jamiro Montero doesn't pick it up initially, and once he does, he has to play catch-up, and he'll never catch the Red Bull attacking midfielder. Wagner doesn't really close Duncan down completely, since he's isolated and doesn't want to be beat. I'm cool with his decision in this play as a whole, but maybe in hindsight he could have gotten a bit tighter. Kaku never slows down, and now he has his shot, which isn't an easy one. Once the ball is played, I think Trusty could have stepped up slightly. Right now he's busy with Brian White in the box, yes, but Elliott is right next to him and can cover him. And Trusty ends up just sort of holding his place, which allows Kaku to hit an undefended shot. It still has to be hit well, and it is. This one didn't have as many defensive errors as the Union's chance, and it's tough to say there were really any glaring issues either. Montero picks up the run late, and that's basically it. Wagner could have closed down Duncan more, but it's not an error, just something you see in hindsight. Trusty could have stepped up more as well, and maybe there's a slight error in him not reading the pass earlier, but it's tough to criticize him too much here, as his positioning was strong all play, and he, like Montero, is just a little slow to read the situation. All in all, despite a slow counter, this was just a really clinical play from New York, and 2 passes to create this great goal-scoring opportunity. The Red Bulls' second goal was just a bit of indecision from Blake. If he was quicker to either come off his line, or decide to stay back and communicate to Elliott and Trusty, I think this play would have been dealt with cleanly. He could have caught the ball at the top of the box, or even come out to clear it away if he wanted to come off his line, but he doesn't, and at the same time he doesn't stay back and prevent the chip from happening. Now Blake doesn't make a lot of mistakes, so I think most Union fans will give him a break for this one, and for the rare ones that do happen. It's the second half now, and of course Ilsinho has come on for a chance to make some magic. Connor Lade closes down Ilsinho, with the plan to square him up and force him inside to Royer off of his right foot. I still don't get why defenders get so tight to Ilsinho after he's already settled the ball. Teams should realize that if you can close down his first touch, do it. Otherwise, just play containing defense and force him to make a pass. Ilsinho dangles his right foot, and with just a slight dip of his left shoulder, baits Lade into going flat-footed and touches it down the line. Daniel Royer, the left winger, was the support on this play and tries to anticipate this move and cover his fullback, but is just a half a second too slow. In the end, the way the Red Bulls are set up, Lade cannot allow Ilsinho down the touchline. His help comes in the middle, and he should have done better to force Ilsinho off of his right foot. Ilsinho gets towards the end line, and now the pass comes from Montero, who finishes in a really similar fashion to Kaku in the first half with his left foot. It should be noted as we go back and look at this play, the Union are now in a 4-2-3-1, and Montero is the attacking mid, marked by Sean Davis at the beginning of this play. Alejandro Bedoya is of course high on this right side, and ends up drawing Davis away from Montero. This happens because as Ilsinho approaches the end line, substitute defender Sean Nialis stays wide to try and cover in case Royer is beat by Ilsinho, but earlier was marking Bedoya on this play. Now Sean Davis has to move in to cover for his center back and guard the near post. This means that Montero is open for a cutback at the top of the box. Right here, you can see Alex Moyle pointing to the soon-to-be goal scorer, indicating that he needs to be picked up. The other center mid, Chatowski, could maybe have moved to cover as he isn't doing much right now, but in reality, I think it should be Moyle who sticks with Montero, as he's really the only one who can see and pick up this run. He assumes Davis will deal with it, but as we saw, Davis moves to the near post to help his center backs. The Red Bulls were actually marking well until Ilsinho essentially took 3 Red Bull players towards him and out of the play. It's just a ripple effect, and that's what creates the opening for Montero. Had Lade played more conservative at the beginning, the ripple would have been avoided entirely. But Moyle, at the end of the ripple, could also have been more alert to the situation. Somewhere in the middle, Nialis probably didn't need to get sucked out either, which would have in turn led to Davis not needing to cover the near post. It's just a series of slight miscalculations and errors from the Red Bulls that builds into one big play for Philadelphia. Now that Lade has been beaten once, does this left side of the Red Bulls have time to figure out Ilsinho? Not exactly. Lade contains Ilsinho better here, but this time it's Royer who makes the mistake, who runs right in to try to disrupt the Brazilian, and in the end throws off his own defender. He allows Lade to think that he has help coming on his right side. But what happens is, Ilsinho baits in the challenge from Royer, and uses his body to protect the ball. Now that both players are drawn in tight, Ilsinho just touches it past Lade with his next motion and accelerates beyond him smoothly. It's just a shot through Nialis' legs at this point, and the deflection continues the ball on its trajectory past Robles. I've been a big proponent of going through the legs in the past, and I'll show you why with this lesser-known strategy, that deflections off the inside of the leg are usually beneficial to the striker and continue the shot on its trajectory. It's a lot easier to notice with shots against goalkeepers, but when a shot that is usually meant to go around the keeper is deflected off the outside of his leg, for example, it usually ends up being saved and goes outside the posts. However, a shot between the legs that is deflected usually still allows the ball to continue on goal and continue in its general trajectory. Ilsinho essentially gets the same result here, and he gets 2 megs in this play on his way to his first goal of the game. Now for what ends up being Ilsinho's second goal of the game. He starts off this play once again, but finishes it with a pass and not a shot this time. He draws in Davis and Lade and slots Bedoya behind the defense, who ends up drawing the penalty. This play, however, is another example of the Red Bulls' disjointed defense. Bedoya should be offside here. However, Nialis and Parker are not in line. Parker's playing deeper alongside Duncan in the box, and Nialis is farther up. I think the line should really be with Nialis here, as Parker and Duncan would also be closer to Shabilko in the box and be easier to mark him. It's just another tiny error that opens up a big hole in the defense. It still has to be played right by the offense and done to perfection, but the elite Red Bull defense of last season wouldn't have made this error. However, it's tough to say what the result would have been on the first 2 goals on Ilsinho's dribble if Kemar Lawrence was in. In the end, Robles saves the penalty, but Ilsinho puts the rebound away and finishes off the comeback.
Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something from this episode, or at least found it entertaining. Until next time, I'm Emmett McConnell. Have a great day.